We meet Koshi Nagumo, a quiet 12-year-old boy. He shares how his house caught fire, and instead of taking responsibility, his father went to buy milk and never returned. Without any money, Koshi began to roam the streets. He ate scraps of food off the ground and got horrible diarrhea. As he was about to die from hunger, a girl with a massive bust named Minoru took him to an exclusively female dormitory called the Goddess's Dormitory. Once there, Minoru gave him some ramen and offered him a bath. Nervous because no girl had ever been this close to him, the orphan ran away. He entered the bathroom without checking, only to encounter some hot chicks with massive cannons. One of them commented on his elephant, causing little Koshi to feel embarrassed. To make matters worse, as he tried to escape to avoid further embarrassment, he accidentally collided with Athena and ended up burying his face between her thighs. Koshi turned red because he saw a sword bigger than his own. Athena passes out, and we learn that she has some sort of trauma with men. After the misunderstanding, the hot chicks introduce themselves. Minoru, a fourth-year college student who is the interim dorm mother, in other words, she is the caretaker of the dormitory. Korea, a second-year student. Frey, the third year who goes by her online name of Free Saren, and Serene, who doesn't even remember how much time she has spent at the university. Koshi apologizes for what happened earlier. The girls started asking Koshi questions to learn more about him and his elephant. He had to tell them everything that had happened, like his house burning down and now being without a home. He tells how his dad went to play hide and seek and was never found. The little pervert mentions that he wants to go to school and needs a job real quick. Hearing his story, the girls felt sad and offered him to be the dorm mother. He could live there for free and would receive a monthly salary as well. This meant he had to do all the chores, cleaning, cooking, laundry, and more. It was like being a housewife but with a steady salary. The little pervert accepts it without hesitation, thinking he would get to see their plots. All the girls agreed to keep him as dorm mother except Athena. She didn't like the idea of having a man in their all-girls space. She packed her things and left. Koshi asks what Athena's problem is. Minoru explains that she is a first-year student who recently moved here from another dormitory. She attended an all-girls high school and spent her childhood in a girls' dormitory. Her previous dorm had issues with girls bringing their boyfriends and smashing with them, which proves how uncomfortable she is around men. Koshi felt guilty, as Athena is leaving her home because of him. He worries if he took that job, Athena would be homeless, so he decides to leave that place instead of Athena. He approaches her and says he had turned down the job offer, assuring her to go back to the dorm. At first, Athena feels relieved but remembers that disgusting moron is homeless. Koshi is sitting in the park, sneezing, but he is glad that it's not Athena. Then that little guy carries those huge cannons and returns to the dorm, where all the hot chicks were waiting for him. The next day, while Koshi was cleaning the yard, two women gossiped about the dorm, because the dorm girls had bigger busts than theirs. But this doesn't bother Koshi, and he is grateful to those hot chicks for giving him a job and a place to stay. After finishing the outdoor tasks, he moves to the inside and sees that the whole place is a mess. He starts with Minoru's room, which strangely has an alarm on the door. As Minoru approaches, Koshi feels uneasy and crawls on the floor, looking the other way to avoid her disgusting face. He takes a moment to rest on the floor until Frey comes out from another room. It turns out to be Frey, the cosplay enthusiast who dresses Koshi as a furry. Minoru runs to their room and tells them to evacuate to safety because one of her crazy experiments went out of control and turned into toxic gas, which could end their miserable lives. They all hurry to get outside, and Frey says Minoru is known as the walking toxic fume generator on their campus. Minoru says Frey is known as the walking dress-up demon. Koshi scolds those dumb girls for doing such dangerous things that could end their miserable lives. He raises his voice and expresses his frustration, but feels he is being cringy. He apologizes and runs off to a busy street. He notices that people are taking photos of him in his furry cosplay. Eventually, he returns to those hot babes and brings them a blanket because they were completely naked. He tells them that he got that blanket by using his only skill, begging. Inside the dormitory, Athena scolds all of them for wearing such clothes, reminding them that they now live with a man. She also chastises Minoru and Frey for their behavior with Koshi. Meanwhile, as Koshi is sleeping peacefully, Kariya breaks through the ceiling. They are confused, but the giant explains that she was reading a romance manga and got so excited about a scene that she kicked the floor. She's very strong because her parents ran a martial arts studio in their home, and she was also a student there. Since Kariya's room now has a bigger hole than Kaoshi's, she asks if she can sleep with him. Kaoshi says he is not in the mood to sleep with her, but Kariya says not to worry because Kaoshi reminds her of her brothers, and she doesn't intend to do anything bad to him. However, we see that her relationship with her brothers wasn't exactly gentle. She forces Kaoshi to spar with her, and our poor guy gets all crushed. Kaoshi mentions that all the women in this dorm are weirdos. She is so strong that she could out-wrestle Kabab, and he thinks he can't sleep with her. He's also worried because he's a man, and she's so beautiful that he's not sure if he can fully control himself from smashing her. To calm himself down, Kaoshi leaves the room and heads to Kariya's room, where he can be alone. On the other hand, Kariya keeps thinking about his words as they were similar to a scene in the manga she was reading. This was the first time that some boy talked to her like that, saying "cute woman." This makes her start to like him romantically, and she again starts to smash the room, just like that ugly dude smashed your crush. While Kaoshi is trying to get some sleep, Serene shows up. Seeing the mess caused by Kariya, she offers to fix the floor using lunar technology if he agrees to become her servant. Since Kaoshi is talking in his sleep, he doesn't fully understand the situation and answers yes. Serene climbs onto him and kisses him to seal the agreement. The next morning, Kariya is amazed and thanks him for fixing her room. Kaoshi wonders what the hell that brainless wrestler is blabbering about. He doesn't know what happened last night and can't remember if the kiss was real or just a dream. Nonetheless, Kaoshi goes to prepare a meal for everyone. Serene arrives and tastes his food, reminding him that he is now her servant. He blushes as he remembers what happened the night before. While having lunch with the other girls, Athena is surprised by how quickly Kaoshi got along with those weirdos. She thinks that she still has a lot to work on since she can't even touch him without fainting. These women can't even cook properly, so they request Kaoshi to prepare dinner for them as well. Kaoshi is about to go out to buy more food for their dinner, but Athena thinks it's a perfect chance to spend some time alone with him and decides to go along. She wears a mask to stop a nosebleed, but it doesn't work well because she gets very nervous when she sees a couple of guys. As they are returning after shopping, Kaoshi gives her a genuine compliment, but she thinks he is trying to flirt with her and runs away. She crashes into a man and is about to get a nosebleed when Kaoshi luckily arrives at the scene and takes her away. Free dresses Kaoshi as a maid and mentions that brothers are playing things for their older sister. Meanwhile, the crazy scientist thinks that brothers are perfect guinea pigs, but everyone disagrees, and Kariya starts to wrestle with him. Kaoshi thinks those are referring to him as brother and treating him like their stepbrother. Mineru comes from behind and delivers devastating news. She says that starting next week, he'll be going to school. He becomes happy because he can avoid their disgusting faces for a few hours. Time flies and the day of his school arrival comes. As he explores his school, a girl suddenly appears and kicks him in the face. Tsuchiya demands to know where the hell he went without letting her know, as she was worried. Kaoshi reveals that the girl with the flat chest is his friend from preschool. She is offended by him, and he follows her like a simp to apologize, but she ignores him. After class, the simp chases her and grabs her hand. Furious, she warns him not to touch her again. Tsute goes to the rooftop because she doesn't have any friends. We learn that she is also a weirdo who is sensitive to heat, whether it's from a person or any other object. There's a flashback of Tsuchiya watching other kids playing. Our simp Kaoshi approaches her and asks her to play with them. She tells him she can't and explains her condition to him. However, the protagonist didn't mind this and used ice on his hands to touch her without causing her harm, which gradually made Tsuchiya fall in love with him. Even now, Tsuchiya has feelings for Kaoshi, but her tsundere personality prevents her from expressing them clearly. Kaoshi finds her and uses ice on his hands to touch her safely. They go to the infirmary to rest, where Kaoshi shares everything that has happened to him in recent weeks, like the fire at his house and now living with some university girls because he's broke. Tsuchiya becomes jealous when she learns it's an all-girls dormitory, so she decides to accompany him, but Kushi suggests she should take some rest. She then reconsiders and kicks him away again. When they arrive, they find Mineru's experiments have gone wrong again. Kaoshi takes Tsutia inside. She starts checking all the rooms for anything unusual. She begins with Kaoji's room, which is nothing but his futon. Then she goes to Mineru's room, but it's filled with toxic gas, so she can't see much. When she reaches Freya's room, she almost becomes a test subject in one of her bizarre experiments. Athena heroically rescues her and takes her to her own room, where there's nothing strange. It is Kaoji's first time seeing Athena's room as well, and he mentions it's relaxing with a pleasant smell coming from it. However, this makes Tsutia jealous because it seems that Creep likes Athena's room. Finally, she goes to Kitaya's room, which seems normal until she opens a manga, which makes her so excited that she punches the wall, almost breaking it. Serene appears and gives a cookie to Tsutia, but realizes it has expired. Tsutia is pissed off by their behavior and concludes that this place is too crazy for Kaoshi. Athena becomes jealous, scolds Kaoshi, and runs away. Days later, Athena and Kiriya are still traumatized by what happened that night. Those dumb idiots even forget their lunch for university. Free suggests that Kaoshi take their lunches to the university. Kaoshi mentions he can't because it's a women's college. Frey gives him her women's cosplay costume, and he enters the college without being caught by the guards. The plan works until some girls discover our pervert and chase him. After this, Kaoshi hands them their lunchboxes and also goes to Kiriya to deliver hers. Miss Nosebleed collides with Kiriya, who was holding a bucket full of water, which leaves both of the girls soaked. They head to the changing room to change their clothes. Athena doesn't have spare clothes, so Kiriya gives her some of hers. The scene starts when Athena told everyone about the vacation. Serene didn't like this and went to her room. Kaoshi wondered why she was upset and went to her room to find out why. Before going in, he thought about what might be in her room. He opened the door and saw a lot of trash. He called Serene's name, and a pile of trash fell on him. When he woke up, he was in a 96 position with Serene. He asked Serene why her room smelled like her honeypot. Serene said it was all from lunar technology. Kaoshi asked if she had entered Kiriya's room while he was sleeping and developed a plot with him. She told him she did so using lunar technology. Kaoshi asked if she didn't like vacations. Serene said she hadn't left the dorm in years and mentioned the moon gives her peace of mind. Kaoshi understood and saw her torn jacket, which had a bigger hole than hers. He told the other hot chicks they should give Serene a gift to remind her of the moon. Everyone was happy to do this. They talked about how Serene was the oldest member of the dorm. The next morning, while he was thinking about the moon's power, he saw his crush Tsutia acting weird. Kaoshi told her about the vacation plans and asked if she wanted to come with him. Tsukia said she would come to keep an eye on him so he couldn't develop plots with those hot chicks. Later, we see Serene eating her favorite cookies. Frey brought her an expensive dress called Lunar Welcurry Moon. Serene was happy but remembered a rule that says they can't wear unauthorized cosplay costumes in public places. Frey got upset. The crazy scientist, Minoru, showed up with a serum that, if anyone gets a whiff of, they can't resist. That massive plot opens the lid, which is sniffed by Frey, and then things got silly and messy. Kaoshi went home and saw Serene and Kiriya doing something. They said they were practicing Tai Chi, a Chinese martial art connected to the moon. That's why Kiriya was teaching Serene. Serene passed out because she had never worked out in her entire life. Minoru and Free showed up in costumes like Power Rangers. Athena came with an umbrella for Serene. When Serene opened it, there was a beautiful moon design inside. Everyone was amazed as they realized she has a bigger brain as well, besides her massive cannons. At dinner, Kaoshi gave Serene her fixed jacket. Serene was happy and thanked him. Later, Serene was about to develop a plot with him, but his meat was too small, so instead, she decided to kiss him. Then he woke up and saw they were all in a car. They arrived at a place called Suze Manor. It gave off weird vibes. Athena started crying because she booked the wrong place. An old lady welcomed them to their hotel room. Everyone got dressed and went out. Athena stayed behind. Kaoshi found a shrine with lots of stairs. They started assuming that this shrine must be haunted, which made Kiriya scared and claimed to Kaoshi. Tsutia saw this and became Medusa. At night, they split into teams. He saw Athena leave and decided to go out too, but he was almost eliminated by Frey's massive busts. He found that Athena was gone. Mineru scared him and said she wanted to research ghosts. They ran into Athena, who wondered why the lights went out. They saw a creepy lady with an umbrella. Athena took Kashi to a secret room. She said nice things about him and mentioned she would protect him as her big sister, but Mineru entered, saying Athena was harassing Kashi. Serene, Frey, and Kiriya were sad because they wanted to join the fun with Kashi as well. Mineru and Frey invited them to the beach. At the beach, the girls engage in different activities. Tsuchiya, feeling shy about her body, decides to swim alone with a float. She feels sad when she sees that Kashi isn't noticing her. While swimming, fishes are attracted to her, and they enter her private parts, which causes her to get out of the tube, and she starts drowning. Kiriya, alerted by Kashi, rushes to save Tsuchiya. She spots her drowning in the water, and she saves her miserable life. After bringing her to shore, Tsuchiya explains she had leg cramps. Kashi wonders if that flat chick is okay, but she scolds him off, saying it's none of his business. Kiriya explains to Tsuchiya that Kashi was worried about her, and he begged her to save her. Hot Chicks thinks he is cool for saving Tsuchiya. Kashi became annoyed by their disguising face, so he went to buy some cold drinks. Athena, suffering from the hot sun, feels better when Kiriya puts a cool cloth on her face. They share a heartfelt moment, with Tsuchiya apologizing for past behavior and thanks Kiriya for being willing to talk to her. Frey questions Tsuchiya, "To the heat bothers her, why doesn't she cut her hair?" Tsuchiya tells once, Kashi had a crush on a teacher school, and at very least she wants to imitate her hairstyle, which amuses everyone. Later, while Kashi was returning with cold drinks, he steps in when two boys are bothering Athena. He pretends to be her brother to scare them off, but when teased and in frustration, he declares he is her dorm mother. This makes both Kashi and Athena embarrassed, especially after an accidental touch. As evening comes, the group goes back to the dormitory. Free sees Kashi's tiredness and offers to help with chores, but he insists on doing them himself. The next morning, everyone notices Kashi, looking troubled, making them concerned. Free decides to cheer Kashi up by taking him to a cosplay studio. At first, Kashi doesn't want to go, but he eventually agrees. At the studio, they wear anime-inspired costumes and play out a role-playing scene. Free uses this to ask Kashi about his feelings, catching him in small lies. During their costume play, Frey encourages Kashi to share his true feelings. He says someone at the dorm said that they feel safe around him, and he is almost like their family, which confuses Frey. Frey sees this as Kashi growing up, suggesting he's thinking more like an adult. Kashi, however, clings to his role as the dorm's mother figure, saying he can't abandon his duties. Frey challenges this, saying Kashi is a man and should accept his true self. This leads to a heated talk where Frey accuses Kashi of lying to himself. Finally, Kashi admits to having new complex feelings since joining the dorm. He feels a strong sense of belonging and wants to stay, despite possible romantic feelings. Frey, touched by his honesty, hugs Kashi, apologizing for being forceful. She explains she wanted to help him with his emotional burden. Frey assures Kashi that everyone at the goddess dorm cares for him. She advises him not to run from his past, but to accept the love and support from his new family. As they leave the studio, Kashi feels more confident in his feelings and role in the dorm, and Kashi promises to keep supporting the dorm residents while also recognizing his own growth and identity. The following day, we see Kashi and Athena arriving at the 45th annual festival at the women's college. They meet Frey, who is wearing the fashion club's executive uniform. Frey offers to give them a tour of the festival. During their tour, they visit a fortune teller's tent. Frey pushes Kashi inside, and they see Mineru selling some drugs. Mineru runs away because drugs are illegal at the college, but one bottle, labeled Horny Plus, falls into Kashi's bag unnoticed. The scene shifts to a meeting of the Occult Research Society. They discuss Serena, who has become an urban legend at the college. Suddenly, a pink gas spreads throughout the area, affecting the girls' behavior. They become overly affectionate towards Kashi, who finds himself in an uncomfortable situation. Serena arrives and uses her moon technology to dispel the gas, returning everyone to normal. The girls are confused about what happened, while Kashi is relieved. Later, Kashi visits the maid cafe where Athena works and is attracted to the maid outfits. Athena, nervous around boys, accidentally drops some food while serving. Frey catches it, but Kushi ends up in an awkward position trying to help. The group then attends a cross-dressing show where Kariya participates. Before the show, Kaushi, feeling hot, reaches into his bag for a drink. He accidentally consumes the Horny Plus potion, thinking it's water. This causes him to act more energetic and bold than usual. Kariya performs in the show, impressing both Athena and Kaushi. After her performance, she gives them tickets to a haunted house attraction. Kaushi, under the potion's influence, eagerly accepts. At the haunted house, Kaushi bravely leads Athena and Kariya. Having listened to David Goggins' speech, he faces the scares head-on and protects the girls, displaying uncharacteristic courage. Athena and Kariya are surprised and impressed by this change in his behavior. As they exit the haunted house, the lights suddenly go out. In the darkness, Athena and Kariya find themselves in compromising positions with Kaushi. Later, the crazy scientist reveals that the Horny Plus potion was actually just water. It was part of an experiment by Minoru to test the placebo effect. She explains to Kaushi that she wanted to see how a fake medicine might affect someone who believed it was real, even when it had nothing to do with their actual condition. Kaushi realizes that all his brave and energetic actions were because of his own willpower, not any external substances. We see Kariya is sad because her family can't host the yearly Christmas party, so she'll have to run the entire thing by herself because the children of their dojo are participating. Her friends offer to help, so they go shopping for party supplies. Kariya and Kaushi spend time looking at decorations because her house looks like an abandoned building, and they look for snacks, talking about costumes and childhood memories. When Kaushi learns Kariya couldn't eat chocolates as a kid due to martial arts school rules, he buys her lots of chocolates in the hope of getting a chance to smash her. While shopping, Kariya overhears couples talking about date plans, making her feel shy around Kaushi. They have smoothies and wraps together, making it feel like a real date. However, she overhears people calling them siblings, which confuses her feelings. They visit Frey for costume advice. Frey measures Kariya for a costume while Kaushi is on the floor, laying with his hands tied. The next day, Kaushi enters the bathroom where he sees Athena naked, which gives her a nosebleed, and she gets sick. As a consequence, she can't attend the party, so Serena joins to help with the party. They take a long train ride to Kariya's hometown. There, Kariya shows them her old house and martial arts school. The kids are happy to see her, and she teaches them some moves, reminding Kaushi of when he first saw her do martial arts. Kaushi dresses as a reindeer to entertain the kids. He makes special badges and helps a sad little girl feel better by giving her a good kid badge, making him emotional when other kids congratulate her. Kariya and Serena wear outfits made by Frey. The children love their costumes. Kariya's brother lifts her skirt as a joke, embarrassing her in front of Kaushi. They hand out gifts to the excited kids and enjoy snacks together. Some children want to play a game where someone sits on the reindeer. Serena agrees, making Kaushi feel shy because he realizes she's not wearing underwear. Embarrassed, he runs away. At night, Kariya thanks Kaushi for his help. She forgets to get him a gift, but he gives her a medal for her hard work. It's a sweet moment between them. Kariya starts to lean in for a kiss, but Serena interrupts. The episode ends with snow falling outside, creating a romantic atmosphere. Funny moments include Kaushi accidentally seeing Athena in the bathroom, causing nosebleeds and misunderstandings. The story shows the growing bond between Kariya and Kaushi, mixed with humorous situations and sweet interactions with the children at the Christmas party. Kaushi does chores around the house, and the girls gift him a kotatsu for his work. What seemed like a gift for Kaushi was just a cheeky tactic used by girls to take advantage of him. Athena is clearly having some issues as Kariya asks Kotatsu to use her as a chair and warm her. Kaushi doesn't have a brain cell and passes on this opportunity, which makes Athena a bit happy. Even though Kaushi isn't sitting on top of Kariya, she still manages to do stuff with him from under the kotatsu. Things happening under the kotatsu were something you would usually see on YouTube with a yellow logo. Anyway, Kaushi remembers the time when he wasn't fatherless and used to spend time on kotatsu himself. Kariya shares her story about how she used to watch her brother do his winter homework under kotatsu until he fell asleep. Since Athena thinks of Kaushi as her stepbrother, she thinks it would be nice to watch him do his homework under kotatsu. The pink-haired perv just wanted some action under the kotatsu, but Koshi ruins her plans by announcing that he will invite Tsutia for group study and she can watch them. Goes without saying that this makes both Athena and Tsutia upset. Tsutia didn't like the warm environment, so she was mad at Koshi for even bringing it up. Well, Koshi convinces her to come with him by bribing her with ice cream and making a deal not to turn the heat on kotatsu. As their homework session begins, Koshi feels cold and turns on the heat. As much as she hates to admit it, Tsutia enjoys the environment with Koshi. Soon, both of them fall asleep without finishing their homework. Tsutia wakes up after a while and sees Koshi asleep. She decides to do his homework as well while getting her kitten rubbed by Koshi's legs. Koshi was actively penetrating her with his leg from underneath the kotatsu while still asleep. Meanwhile, Athena was out shopping and thinking about the two students. She returns home and sees the two of them on kotatsu. Tsutia is awkward and wakes Koshi up in a rather unpleasant way. All the other girls also return in the meantime and ask Koshi to prepare a tasty meal. The next morning, Frey leaves the house early for the cosplaying event. Koshi decides to clean Frey's room, which was just way too messy. Athena decides to help them out, and they notice Serene's door, which looked like it was ready to unload something. Serene was hanging on the window of her room and landed directly on Koshi's face. Koshi and the girls clean up Frey's room with some close calls that we should probably stay silent upon. Serena was not letting them in her room, so they moved on to Mineru's room. They don't see anything upon opening the door, are greeted with a shower, and then dry up instantly with high-pressure air. Mineru opened the door and allowed them to take a peek at her laboratory, which honestly looked super clean. Mineru was maintaining her workspace better than most of you watching this video. Although I wish her dressing style was on par with her room's maintenance, if she was a real woman, she would be the top OnlyFans creator without even showing her honkers. The room was already teddy, so Koshi and the girls were kicked out. Serene was against letting them in her room, but she was easily tricked with some snacks. They brute force inside her room, and it was messier than Athena's feelings for Koshi. Anyway, the things weren't as meaningless, they were like little gifts that she collected over the years, and it was actually pretty sweet. She was thankful to them for accepting her despite her NPC behavior and stupid personality. She was also thankful to them for making the lame goddess dormitory lively again, as it used to be a super boring place just a year ago. Mineru notices the bottle of sake and gets high on it. Now that she was high, her melons were just inches away from falling out of the tree. Not only herself, but she also involves Athena and Serene with her. Athena, however, gets high with just the smell of it. The three girls get on top of Koshi, and he seems to be enjoying it. The next day, we see Athena sewing something for Koshi. In the kitchen, everyone was discussing New Year's Eve. Mineru explained that she needed to finish her research, so she would be going home this time around and would spend the day at the dorm. All the other girls, including Athena, were planning to spend the new year in the dorm this time around, and all of them had their reasons for it. Well, I think they were just being pervs thirsting for some action with Koshi on New Year's Eve. Koshi was also really happy with the girls' decision to stay in the dorm, after the incident with his house and his father, who went to get milk and never returned. He never thought he would be living like this with new friends. The girls are like family to him, and he thinks of them as his sisters, but the girls, well, they just wanna get his meat. Anyway, Koshi is tasked with creating delicious meals for the main day, and Mineru gives him a lot of money to get any ingredients he wants. Koshi cannot go to the mall alone, so the girls expect Athena to escort him, but she declines, making Koshi upset and wondering what he did wrong. Well, Athena wasn't upset at Koshi, she just wanted to finish knitting the gloves for Koshi. Now, Tariya decides to go with Koshi, and they shop together. Koshi doesn't want to buy pre-made ramen or shrimp, he wants to make everything from scratch by himself. He is super dedicated to feeding the girls tasty food, and Kiriya wants to learn how to make food too. Suddenly, Koshi faints and Kiriya panics. Back home, all the girls surround him, and Fairy puts her honkers all over his face to wake him up. Koshi explained that he was feeling a bit cold this morning, and his legs were shaking, which is why he fainted. Athena and the other girls are very worried about him, and they tell him to rest. With New Year's Eve coming closer and Koshi being ill, the girls decide to cure Koshi first, and then worry about the eve. While the girls make a fuss about Koshi and are panicking, Tsuchiya arrives there and asks Koshi if he is doing alright. Koshi explains that it's just a cold and nothing serious. While checking his fever, Tsuchiya becomes a bit awkward and falls on top of him. The dorm girls see them in an awkward position, but surprisingly, they don't make a fuss about it. Everybody acts a bit more mature and divides the work to take good care of Koshi. After a while, Kiriya completely messes up Koshi's clothes, but Kushi lies about liking them. Atina is making soup for him and looks for some eggs, but doesn't find any. Mineru suggests putting her potion in the food instead, which creates a big explosion inside the house. Koshi's fever doesn't come down, and Atina decides to take care of him alone. This time, all girls agree with the decision and Atina works hard to cure Koshi. She remembers the time she met him, and how she worked on her fear with men and accepted Koshi. With no pervy intent, she stays with Koshi the entire night and takes good care of him until she falls asleep. The next morning, Koshi wakes up with Atina beside him, and he thanks her for taking care of him. He is healthy again and gets back to work. Atina gives him the gloves she had knit for him, and Kushi happily wears them. All the other girls arrive there, and they seem really happy. With Tsuchiya's approval, they decide to go shopping for New Year's Eve and the day continues.